Welcome to Beyond Mom Brain, a podcast for mothers navigating every season of life. Whether you're raising little ones, supporting teens, connecting with adult children, or rediscovering yourself, you're in the right place.
So I think sometimes we have an opinion. I use this personally as a personal example. I loved being a mother. I love being a mother. I loved being pregnant. I loved having children. I would sit here and say, I would never have an abortion.
Right.
So, that's me saying that. And not because of religion, not because of anything except just me as a mom and being pregnant. But the truth is, I have no business saying that because I was never faced with the need
Right.
or the situation where I might have to choose. I was never put in a situation where I was forced to make a choice.
Right.
So in the truer statement is, I don't really know what I would have done if I had been in that situation. So my pontificating, that's like, I would never have an abortion, doesn't mean anything to at all.
Yeah.
Because I never had to choose. And then that allows for me to sit with another woman and to say, I don't know what you're going through. I never had to face that. I will just hold a space for you to be able to decide. You get to choose what's right for you and what's wrong for you, or what's good or bad, because who am I to make a judgment about something that I really know nothing about?
Yeah.
And then that, they might say, well, what are your beliefs? But my beliefs about something aren't necessarily what's important in the moment. It's about whether or not I have a choice. That's what I think is a bigger issue.
I
And
agree. Yeah.
we're put in situations, religiously, governmental, societal, we're put in situations where choice has been taken away.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I think, a bigger conversation about,
Yes.
as parenting and giving birth and like, maybe I intentionally choose to be a single mom. That's not your business, is it?
Right. Right.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you could say to me, that's your choice. I chose that as well, and this is what happened, and this is how I loved it, and this is how I hated it. And I can listen to you, but you're not telling me what to do.
Right. Right. But that's the beauty of conversation, you know?
Yes.
And I think that I had a situation yesterday. Communication comes up so much in my life. For me, like, kind of mentioning communication to other people in certain ways, that's like, well, communication on this topic could have made things go a whole different way.
Mhm.
And there was a situation yesterday, and it wasn't really anyone's fault, but I found myself again saying just to the person, I'm not upset, but had proper communication happened in this situation, there wouldn't have been this misunderstanding.
Yeah.
And I just think that communication on so many levels can solve and prevent and help so many things.
Yeah.
But a lot of times we either don't know how to communicate, what to communicate, when to communicate, and for various reasons, right? Like, I wasn't talked to about a lot of things as a kid and teenager. Now I had other family members who like tried to communicate and educate me on certain things, but other family members who were just like didn't really, and so I was kind of navigating life at certain points uneducated, so that when I became a parent to children and teenagers that age, I make sure that I am communicating and educating, because I know what decisions can be when there's that stall of communication.
Yeah.
And just in life, like, even in relationships, and I've noticed this within my marriage. One of the reasons that I think this marriage is so much more successful than my first marriage at 19, 20 years old
Right.
is communication. And there's been times, and we've only been married for 3 years. We've been together for about 10, but we've been married for 3. And so there's been times where I'm literally thinking, I'm having this whole conversation in my head, and then I'm like, wait, just talk to him about it.
Mhm.
Because I don't actually know if he paid attention, if he knew to pay attention, like these expectations we have of people. And it's like, wait, do they even know to
But you're
think what I'm
expecting it.
thinking? Like, so like you go have this conversation and they otherwise never would have known what you were thinking, but you're having this conversation in your head like they already knew and they didn't.
Right.
So and I think that happens a lot too. Like we expect certain reactions and responses that aren't even going to happen, but because we get so in our heads from our own perspective that
Yeah.
we don't consider the other perspective. And I think problems arise that way. Lack
Yeah.
of communication comes from that to like this assumption of perspective or
Mhm.
assumption of
That
response.
they know what you're thinking, right?
Yes, like
Well,
the
that's
age-old issue in marriage, right?
yeah. Well, there was a book I read, a novel years ago, and I don't even remember the name of it. But the wife slapped her husband. They woke up in the morning in bed. She slapped her husband, and he was like shocked, like, "What are you doing that for?" And she said, "Well, I'm slapping you for something you did in my dream."
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
that's like, oh, okay. Because how does he know what what you were dreaming?
Right.
We do that
Right.
sometimes, don't we? Yeah. Well, and it's this place, the communication to really. I mean, you brought it up also at the beginning about you don't want it. You've been had a lot of death around you. You don't want to think about your mom dying. You don't want to talk about it. But you know what? Your mom's going to die.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Everybody's mom dies, and that withhold because it's uncomfortable doesn't make it better or worse, and it doesn't
That's
go
true.
away.
That's true.
And that this work about what, let's say I need to tell you something that I'm uncomfortable with, or we've had a situation that we need to talk about, but I don't want to bring it up.
Mm-hmm.
So once I do that and I kind of close that down, there's a withhold, there's a holding in
Right.
energetically, and whether we pay attention or not as humans, and we pick up signals from people and we feel energy.
Yes.
So we get together and you don't know for sure why you feel like I'm not telling you something. You
Mm-hmm.
feel,
Yeah.
and because then there's like, oh, something's going on here, so maybe you withdraw. And then I decide, oh, there, see, she's pulled away. That's why I didn't want to talk to her about it. I knew that she wouldn't be receptive to listen, and I haven't even tried to talk. So then I've now made a barrier. I
Mm-hmm.
can't talk to her about it.
Yeah.
You then read again. It's like, oh, well, there's just something wrong with her because she's not the same friend as she used to be. So there's this dynamic situation that exists now, and you don't trust me and I don't trust you, and I'm justified and you're justified. And what was the beginning was I needed to talk to you about something, and even though it was hard, but I had to speak truthfully to you so
Mm-hmm.
that we could find a way to resolve it or come together.
Yeah.
So and that happens in marriage, it happens in friendships.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, I can't trust her anymore because she's holding back something.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And so that's like you said about communication, talking to people. There's no time, that we're so busy. We're so busy on screens. We're so
Yeah.
busy with doing all the busyness that we don't sit by the fire in the evening and rock in our chair and smoke our pipe and knit.
Yeah. Right.
We don't even have conversation at meal times anymore. Most families most families don't sit together.
Yeah.
And that didn't guarantee that you had conversation, but
Right.
the things that would create opportunity to talk with each other don't exist anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say that's one thing that we make sure to do, and not every day, but whoever's home. Also, I'm like, I want you to keep your food at the table because I don't want it on my couch or, wherever else. But it does kind of like force you to kind of, because sometimes when you have teenagers, they're, oh, I want to go, blah. Well, we don't allow food upstairs and we don't allow it on the couch. Only place you got to eat is right here at this table.
Yes,
And
yeah.
now when, we say dinner's ready, everyone comes to the table. Everyone who's home, somebody might be at work or sports or whatever, but whoever's home now. And that wasn't, I mean, we've never really been a family to like eat in our rooms. It's just a thing that I've never liked. My husband's never, he would do everything in his room if he could. But that stems from a childhood trauma that we've been working on over the years. But he is a very like he would eat in his room, like everything. And I'm just like, let's not do that. How about we make sure we eat dinner at the table or, downstairs. Like at our last house, we had like a little dining area, like the kitchen and den were open. And, we had like this bar. So you had like options to sit. But here, the dining room, which I also like about my house now, is like the dining room is not connected to the TV.
Mhm.
And so, that kind of brings that space together also. So when you have, the things in place of like, we're not eating in our rooms or, on the couch or whatever with the teenagers and stuff like that, it kind of forces you, it forces them,
Yeah.
to kind of be in this space together. And we can talk, we don't have to talk, whatever the case may be. Because sometimes we just want to relax and we don't want to talk the whole time. Like sometimes I don't want to talk when I'm eating. I just want to, because, kids all day long, I'm just like,
Right.
hey, let's
That's
just
your quiet time.
have a peaceful moment.
Yeah. Well, I think there's value also in creating ritual, and
Yeah.
and there's always that's not a neutral word, but I will stick with it to create
Hmm.
ritual so that there maybe it's once a month. I mean, it has to be scheduled, and so there's a value of we are a family, whatever that looks like. We
Right.
live under
Right.
the same
Yeah.
roof.
Yeah.
We function together in intimate space. I mean, that's the reality of a household.
Yes.
So coming together, and it used to most likely it would have been a hearth gathering in the sense that we gathered around the fireplace. That's where the food was cooked, and that's where the clothes dried, and that's where we got
Yeah.
light in the evening. So create some kind of a non-negotiable
Hmm.
ritual that we come together, and even if it's around a candle, I think fire is really that's the heart of the home. Fire of
I like
passion,
that.
of love, of anger, of light, heat, all of that to come together, and that it's not it's and maybe it's an opportunity that once a month we sit in circle, we sit around the table, we ritually light a candle, and then there's an opportunity to have a conversation about how's our family working, how's our group working, and there's so many little ideas, and one family that I think I read this in maybe the Artist's Way book years ago about having what was called a God jar, and writing down things and sticking it in the jar. This is something that I'm worried about. This is something that makes me mad. And then
Hmm.
when you gather together, you take something out, and out of the jar. And it doesn't even have to be the person. The name of it is you just read this is going on in the family. How do we feel about this? And what can we do
I
about
like
it?
that.
So it doesn't put anybody on the spot. It's like pull something out of the jar and read it and say, who has experienced the fact that the toothpaste got left in, on the sink counter. Just because a lot of times that's nobody talks about it, and we just get more and more angry. And
Yes. Yes.
that creation of some type of gathering, and it doesn't have to be religious or spiritual. It's just the day to day of, we live together. How can we live together with harmony and respect? And that's for
Yeah.
the children and the adults. And it maybe needs to be started early, right? It's like all of a sudden, if you spring it on your teenagers, there's going to be pushback, but it doesn't mean you can't do it. Doesn't
Yeah.
mean, and that even if nobody shows up and you say, well, this is going to work for our schedules, and you just are sitting at the table by yourself, do it anyway. Light the candle, pull something out of the jar, and let the family observe that you're respecting the request, even if they don't.
Yeah. I really like that. And a lot of times too, kids and even teenagers, although teenagers will never admit this, most of them anyway. A lot of times kids and teenagers, like they crave things like that. They crave like the involvement, the structure. One of my kids even told me, they're a little bit older now, but they've told me before, like, I'm glad that these certain things started being implemented. Like, I'm glad that this was like started being kind of a requirement
Mhm.
because it's better that way, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And it was just like regular household stuff. I used to just clean everything. Now, when my husband and I first moved in together, it drove him crazy. I would clean the kids' bathroom. And I mean, they were still in like elementary to high school. They were all still in school. I clean stuff. I clean the kitchen. I clean their bathrooms. I clean, all that. And he's like, why are you doing that? And I'm like, because I want it done, first of
Mhm. Yeah.
all. And it's not that they weren't taught to clean up after themselves. It's just my philosophy was if I see it, then I clean it.
Mhm.
Right. And so he's like, yeah, but like they also should apply that. So as they started getting older, now mind you, like I said, they were still in school. As they started getting older, all becoming like preteens, teens, and so on, I started having them do more of that stuff themselves. And now the three kids that still live at home, two of them have an assigned bathroom that they clean. My
Mhm.
11-year-old has one he cleans. My 17-year-old has one she cleans because they're the ones who primarily use those two bathrooms. I clean my own bathroom, me and my husband, because so it's like spaces that you primarily use, you're responsible for that space. And in the beginning, it was kind of like, well, other people come in here and blah, blah, blah. That's fine because you also sometimes go into their space that they
Mhm.
clean and do
Yeah.
blah, 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 but they still clean it, just like. So it was a little, like you said, a little bit of pushback at first, but they actually like a lot of times teenagers, like I said, they typically won't admit it while they're teenagers, but and kids like they crave structure,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know?
and the fact that what happens is it spirals. If you're always cleaning it, then they will always take advantage of the fact that I don't need to because
That's true.
mom's gonna do it.
That
And
is
then
very
you
true.
have this crazy I work with people all over, globally even. It's like you got a crazy situation with your 30-year-old son still living at home and doesn't do anything,
Yeah,
and you're still being the mom. It's like
right.
that that's just not going to work. Or even if they're still 22 living at home and they expect you to do everything, and
Right.
that's we
Right.
set that we this is, I think, also where as a mom or as a parents that we have set that in motion and are responsible for the fact that it's still happening.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, because oh, she'll take care of it. She'll do it. And it is usually the mother. I'm not discounting the fathers, but there's also that place of um I don't know, like it's like, well, I help you with the dishes. No, you don't help. You don't help me with the dishes. That's not my job, because
Right.
you work away from home. It's like this collective, like, or I'll babysit the kids tonight. No, you're not babysitting the kids, because you're the parent.
Right.
So
Look, that's a
some of
whole
it,
nother conversation right
we,
there.
we have to we have to kind of take ownership of the patterns that we set in place and the words that are used, and that there is
Mhm.
no accountability, that we hold each other accountable. This is a communal space, and
Mhm.
there isn't an assigned, list, unless you do a list of chores. But it's like,
Right.
well, what are you complaining about? I helped you clean off clean out the dishes off the table. And it's like, what?
The table you're about to eat on, or you just
Right,
finished
right.
eating on as
Well,
well? What? Yeah.
yeah. So I think that this is also, again, we'll put that in the God jar, goddess jar, whatever complaint box.
Right.
Call it whatever you want. But it's a great. I just feel like these coming together as a gathering, and having a space that some things that are troubling can be talked about.
Yeah, I agree.
And so I'm going to jump off on a different tangent. In my latest book, Women of the Always, which isn't just a book for women, but one of the topics, there's 26 topics that are single words. One of them is hearth. And that's an old fashioned word, and people don't think about it, but very often, or maybe they don't even know what it means. But the hearth, in times past, where we were dependent upon fire, we didn't have electricity and we didn't have the gas furnace and all of that. Keeping the hearth meant the difference between life and death in a lot of instances, because if the fire went out and it was like dead of winter and you had no heat and you had no light, things were dangerous.
Yeah.
So hearth keeping or hearth tending was usually the responsibility of a single person, because everybody had their own things that they had to do. So let's
Yeah.
say you are the keeper of the hearth. You could not go to bed at night, no matter how tired you are, no matter how bad the day went. If it was your job to tend the hearth, you had to make sure that the fire was banked in such a way that the fire didn't go out at night.
Yeah.
So you set it so the coal, there was still a live coal, there was still a peat log or a piece of, wood. That was your job, because if the fire went out in the middle of the night, you might not have a way to restart it in the morning because you didn't have a match or a Bic lighter or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
So that was sacred. That meant that your family was safe and that you could cook breakfast. So what happened then is that you also had to be the first person up
Uh-huh.
to start the fire so that the kettle could boil and that the house was warm. This was a sacred obligation. It was not like you couldn't neglect it. Oh, I stayed out last night and I partied and I drank too
Right.
much and I can't get up and start the fire in the morning, because that's
Right.
not
Right.
because we don't have, a lot of us don't have fireplaces. But the essence of the family coming together and being dependent upon fire is also what I think brings community together within the families. Like, let's come together and honor the fact that we have these things
Yeah.
because of fire. I have electricity. Our computers work. That's because of the element of fire.
Yeah.
And let's gather and honor that as a group. And it's a place where when we sit in the evening and we're all around that we can talk. And yeah, this is 2026 and it's a modern time, but you know what? We still depend upon light and heat and
Yeah.
food. Those things have not changed.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you're looking at your screen all the time, you're still dependent upon the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
and you don't honor it. And when we don't honor that, then that's makes it easy for us not to honor the sacredness of our family. When once
Mm,
we start disrespecting something, taking without honor, expectation that's just going to be there, then that d- uh, influences how we deal with each other. I'm going to take you for granted as the mother because you always clean the bathroom.
right.
You know, it's just it's not just one big giant thing. It's all the little things in life daily that I think we have a right to ask. Well, I not think I know that we as a parent or the keepers of the hearth, we have a right to ask for those in the household to come together
Yeah.
and to talk.
Yeah. No, I agree. I do agree. You know, and I think there's a few things that kind of stood out
Brought
about
up,
what you
stirred the pot. I don't know.
No, but I agree with what you're saying. Like there's a few kind of like conversations I can have about this, but generally my kind of response is kind of goes back to the more you know, the more you do,
Hmm.
right? Because when you don't grow up in a household where you have certain practices, you don't know to bring those into your own household. And
Right.
so it's, some of this, I don't know that I'd ever really been told before. You don't have to do all of this by yourself because
Right.
even in my first marriage, I did most of the things for a large portion. And some of that was because he was out of the country working.
Right.
Some of that was once he returned, I still did all the things. And so then you take that and then some years of single parenting, single household. Once you take all that combination into a marriage and someone tells you, hey, you don't have to do everything. And you're like, what? Wait, I don't? you know?
Yeah, it's like somebody stuck their finger in the fan so it stops. Well,
Huh?
and bless them, anyone that would say, "Hey, this is a group effort."
Yeah, yeah, because I don't know. I mean, growing up, it was from what I remember, because I don't ever remember my parents being together, although they were together for a couple of years. I don't remember it. So to me, it was just always me and my mom. I did my stuff, she did hers, just
Mhm.
and so I think that is part, not that it's a bad thing to like be an only child and then go having multiple kids and like having to learn that different structure, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
But I think it's just kind of an acknowledgement thing. And then again, educating ourselves and communicating and allowing ourselves to learn that also sometimes that we can rely on other people,
Well,
you
and
know?
not to live your life as an excuse, and I think I hear this so
Yes.
often. It's like,
Yes.
"I don't know how to do that because my mom or my dad or I never saw this."
Right. Right.
Once you hear about something, then you get to choose because you're not a little kid anymore. You get to choose, like, okay, I've been doing that because of how I was raised, but I'm
Yeah.
not going to use that as an excuse anymore because all of a sudden I've been shown something or told something that else is possible. I can now continue to live my life and make excuses for my behavior because this is the way I was raised, and I don't,
Yeah.
or, oh, I learned that there's something else possible. Uh, am I happy living the way I live? Or can I implement something new to make something different? And that's how we break these patterns
Right.
also of I'm just doing something because that's the way it was, which is what you said about your mom. You did it because you
Yeah.
didn't know. But all of a
Right.
sudden somebody says, oh, have you considered doing that? And now
Did you know?
let's say some young woman who's pregnant is listening to this podcast, and she decides what a beautiful ritual. She decides to start doing that from the beginning with the baby.
Yeah.
Because you can.
Yeah. Yeah.
Once a week, I'm sitting with my baby and I'm going to light a candle, even if the baby's just nursing or I'm holding the baby, I'm lighting a candle. I do something that's meaningful and I do it the next day or I do it the next week. That baby is going to grow up with knowing that every week the mom comes together with the babies, children, and does something that's family, whether she's single, whether she's partnered, whatever.
Yeah.
You can still do it even if your husband's out of the country or your partner.
Yeah.
So starting these kinds of connected gatherings can begin with the birth of the child. So the child grows up with something, and it's not about rigidity and this is the rule and this is the 10 commandments or that. No, this is just our
Yeah.
family gets together once a week and honors fire because that's how we're warm and that's how we see and that's how we cook our food. And it's not any more complicated than that. And it
Yeah.
also sets the tone that as a family we get together. We get to do our separate things, but we also get together because then that's our family. I
Yeah.
just so
Yeah.
it starts sometimes in a very simple way, but it like ripples out into now we have children that grew up doing that. It's going to be not such a surprise for a teenager. It's like, oh, this is what we planned for. This is,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, no, I agree. It's my kids, like I said, I was a single mother for a while. And so I worked a lot.
Mhm.
And my older kids would watch the younger kids. And, it's another thing that like now I would never put that responsibility on my children.
Yeah.
But I did in the past because that was an option. And so there wasn't a lot of, we didn't always every day eat dinner at the table together. Sometimes I was at work. I like never like overnight or anything like that, but sometimes it was dinner time. And my kids now, they don't like when dinner is not like they don't like doing their own thing for dinner unless they're not home. But if they're at home, especially my daughters are like, "Oh, nobody cooked today. Oh, like no one cooked dinner." It's like you spoiled little girl, but I like it at the same time. It's like they expect home cooked
Right.
dinner, sitting together, eating, like sitting at the table, because it wasn't always a thing.
Mhm.
And so now it's funny. It's funny to see certain things that they are now. They're like, oh, we kind of just expected this,
Yeah.
and it involves family togetherness or home cooked or whatever the case may be. And that's really kind of my husband's fault as far as this year goes, because he he's like our and I'm like, I'm kind of not ready for you to go back to work because I like having a personal chef, and especially because like we're eating very particular. We're eating like adults now, protein and fiber and no this and that. Like we're eating super healthy. And so like having him home to make these things for me is makes it so much easier to keep on it, you know? Like I like having this personal chef, but they kind of expect it. Like,
Yeah.
oh, no one cooked. Oh, okay.
Well, and sometimes there has to be some type of scheduling. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody goes their own way, but if there has to be some like chart on the fridge type of thing where everybody participates in
Yeah.
the cooking and everybody participates like this, you're the cook and this is the cleanup crew, that kind of
Yeah.
something to put systems and schedules in place that are allow for all participation. And if the person's too young to figure it out, then that is your role, maybe, as the parent, to step in.
Yeah.
And like make a theme. Okay, the theme this week is Italian food, and so what would you buy? What kind of a meal would you cook that was Italian? Or what?
Mm-hmm.
Can I go to the grocery store with you with a list and we shop?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's all kinds of little things that
Right.
look online to find a recipe, so that
Mm-hmm.
there's an accountability and there's still a participation on the part of the parent. And then you say, well, but I can't do that because I'm run ragged. I'm a single mom. I've got kids and all, and that's, so be it.
Right.
Because that's also choice. And then you look at the reality of your life and you say, well, then what's one small thing that we can do together that honors and respects the fact that I am a single mom, that I do work 2 jobs, that I am, this is the truth of life, but it doesn't mean you can't do anything.
Right.
And you just shared that. I mean, that's like you did the best you could. You made choices to make sure your children were safe, even if it was older children taking care of younger children. You were still functioning.
Right.
And that even if your ritual is we all brush our teeth together in the morning.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be that, this is the only way, and if you're not doing it, then you failed. It's like the truth of my family right now is I'm a single mom. I've got 3 little kids at home. I'm working 2 jobs, and we all have to brush our teeth. So let's make that the gather. Something. Find a way to put into practice something that keeps you connected, because what you spoke about is like, that was a mom who loved your kids. You did the best you could. And the underlying, it wasn't that you were obligated or you had to. I would sense that there was a part of you that was like, I love my children and I'm doing the best I can.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Then who's going to come in and say, well, all your meals should be home cooked? Or it's like, maybe the best that we could do is we boiled macaroni and put cheese on it.
Right.
But the ritual of whatever you've implemented is what is the foundation, not all the things you can't do.
Yes. Yeah.
And
100%.
Love, for me, it's like love, and you can get frustrated and aggravated and all the stuff that goes on in life, and maybe there are people that really don't love their children. That's also possible. And then that's the reality of that situation. Right. What can we do? How do we step in? That becomes a whole other conversation.
Right.
I would say most part, who's to say what has to be done in which household? Maybe pick something that you do every day together. That's all.
Yeah. Say what I want you to say.
I know, Mom. I know, Mom.
Okay, that was good. Thank you. Visit www.falolity.net. That's falolity.net for monthly updates on all things podcasts, books, as well as a weekly wellness blog and more.